My dear Siavash, the only things I have received from the 14 years of shared life with your father are a few pictures of you that I have hung on the walls and the door of my room here in California. In the mornings, my eyes open to your sweet face, and at night my eyes close, looking at that same face. Even though you must have grown past the age of breastfeeding, at your nightly feeding hour, I still wake up, afraid I may have missed it. I stare at all the pictures of you I have on my wall, but the one I look at the most is the picture on your birth certificate. It takes me back to the day that the certificate was issued. On the day after you were born, a frigid wind burst through my open window. Out on the street, people must have been collecting the scattered body parts of their dead relatives. A yellow-orange water tanker had come to help the snow wash away the crimson streaks of human cruelty. But I didn't want to think about the blood and the bodies I had seen the day before. All my thoughts were with you, as you were sleeping comfortably in my arms, and looking at your little pink face had taken away all the despair of Kabul from me. It was 11:30 in the morning. I heard the coughing of a man behind the curtain of my room. I hurriedly pulled a blanket to cover my bosom. A man dressed in a blue uniform came from behind the curtain and greeted me. He had a pen and a folder that seemed to contain thick yellow cards. The man looked at my mother and me and asked, "Don't you have a man around?" My mother kept quiet, but I replied, "Well, he has stepped outside, but we can talk too." The man shook his head at my audacity and said, "I'll come back." He had hardly left the room when your father entered. The man introduced himself to your father behind the curtain and said that he had come to fill out the birth certificate of the newborn to complete the record. The man asked your father, "Is the newborn a girl or a boy?" I could hear your father's excitement. "It's a king boy," he said. The man asked, "His name?" Your father responded, "Siavash." Obviously, the man was filling out those yellow birth certificates behind the curtain. The man asked for your father's name and then for the name of your father's father. Then he asked for the gynecologist's certification papers. Your father picked up those papers from the table next to the bed and gave them to the man. I could hear him flipping through the papers. Moments later, when the man was done filling out the information, he congratulated your father and left. You were busy nursing. When your father came through the curtain, he had the yellow birth certificate in his hand. I took the birth certificate from him and read it. It contained your name, your father's name, and your grandfather's name. But nobody had asked for my name. I was irrelevant. I looked at you, and I wanted to hide you back in my womb so that once again you could belong to me too. I gave the birth certificate to my mother. As she was reading it, she sighed deeply. Although she was clearly upset, she wasn't surprised. She had lived as a woman in Afghanistan all her life. Later, when your father brought in the identity registration card, once again, my name as your mother was nowhere to be seen. Even in your passport, they didn't ask for my name. Your mother's name does not appear in any paper document. My son, in your motherland, the mentioning of a woman's name outside the family circle is a source of shame, and no child is known by its mother's name. But don't worry, dear son. Should you one day want to find your live, buried mother, I have tried to leave you a sign, a clue, a hint. on your birth certificate, next to your name, when no one was looking, I wrote in a bright color, Mother's name, Humaira.